They say history began with writing. But what if the greatest war in human history happened before history itself was written? In one generation, empires vanished, palaces turned to ash, and across 3 continents, silence fell. No victor, no records, only ruins and whispers of a war the world forgot. Before Rome, before Greece, before even the word civilization had meaning, the world was already connected. Across the Nile Valley, Egypt rose like a golden dream, a kingdom of stone and sunlight, ruled by god-kings. To the north, the Hittites commanded an empire of chariots and iron. Their walls stretched across Anatolia, their armies unmatched. In the islands and peninsulas of the Aegean, the Mycenaeans built towering citadels, their kings adorned with gold masks and their warriors hungry for glory. Across the sea, the Canaanites and Phoenicians traded bronze, tin, and treasures. And far to the east, Babylon watched in silent wisdom. It was humanity's first age of connection, a world linked by trade, diplomacy, and ambition. From Africa to Asia to Europe, bronze forged their power, their weapons, and even their gods. The kings believed their empires would last forever, but the gods were listening, and the wind was changing. Then, one day, the world began to fall apart. At first it was whispers. Merchants vanished along the sea routes. Ships burned in the harbors, and cities that once thrived under peace were swallowed up by smoke. Then, suddenly, they came. From where? No one knows. Armies appeared across the Mediterranean, fierce, organized, unstoppable. The Egyptians called them the Sea Peoples. Others called them demons or ghosts of the drowned. They came in waves, crashing upon every shore. They carried strange weapons and burned every city they found. Ugarit, Troy, Hattusa, all gone within a lifetime. No mercy, no negotiation, only fire. The Hittite Empire fell first, its mighty capital reduced to ash. The palaces of Mycenae, Tyrenes, and Pylos soon followed, their kings slain or forgotten. Egypt, the last empire still standing, faced them at the end of the Nile. Pharaoh Ramesses III gathered what was left of his armies and fought them in a battle that would decide the fate of the world. The Sea Peoples came by land and by sea, their ships like black wings upon the water. But Egypt stood its ground. Ramesses won. Barely. The invaders were defeated, but the cost was everything. Egypt survived the battle, but it never recovered. When the smoke cleared, the great kingdoms of the Bronze Age were gone. The trade routes that once carried gold and grain went silent. Writing disappeared. For the first time in centuries, no one built palaces. No one wrote their king's name on stone. Humanity had entered its first dark age. Centuries later, archaeologists would find the ruins, cities burned to the ground, skeletons buried in collapsed walls, temples abandoned mid-prayer. That no one left a story. No one said why. Some say it was drought, rivers drying up, harvests failing, and kingdoms starving. Others believe it was plague, a sickness that spread along the same trade routes that brought wealth. Some say it was rebellion, enslaved peoples rising up against their kings, and others whisper of something older, a chain of disasters that tore the ancient world apart piece by piece. The sea peoples may have been refugees, entire nations fleeing famine and collapse, fighting simply to survive. But when they came, the world burned. It took hundreds of years before the fires died out. From the ruins, small kingdoms began to rise again. Farmers became rulers. Villages became cities. And from those cities came new names: Israel, Greece, Persia, Rome. They believed they were the beginning of history, but they were only the survivors of a forgotten world. Every ruin we uncover from that time, every broken tablet, every fallen wall, every scorched stone, is a whisper from that lost age. An age when gods fell silent, when kings vanished, and when the First World War erased itself from memory. A war that ended an era and began history itself. History they hid, because the truth never stays buried forever.
Subscribe and join us as AI brings lost history back to life.